Good morning, children. Welcome back to the social session. Children, for the past 1 week, we could not have a class because of unavoidable circumstances. Hope you have revised the social studies subject in my absence. We have completed the Independence Day celebrations, 74th Independence Day celebrations, and Warangal has experienced unpredictable rainfall also. So after all this, let me quickly recapitulate what we have seen in the previous class. It's relating to the making of Indian Constitution, children. Do you remember anything, or everything got evaporated? It's natural, isn't it? Everything gets evaporated. Let me quickly build up what we have seen, and let me further add up to the today's class. We actually discussed about the background of making of Indian Constitution, where Ambedkar, a drafting committee chairman, has prepared a draft constitution and tabled it in front of the Constituent Assembly. Here you need to understand two important things. Constituent Assembly is also called as CA, Constituent Assembly. The president of this Constituent Assembly is Dr. Babu Rajendra Prasad. He is the first president of India. Whereas this Constituent Assembly has appointed one drafting committee, Constitution Drafting Committee. Drafting means rough copy, to prepare the copy of drafting committee. This is okay, and the chairman of this drafting committee is Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. So this is a basic difference you need to understand. So this draft committee has prepared the constitution and presented in front of the Constituent Assembly, and while it is being adopted in the Constituent Assembly, the speech made by the Ambedkar we have seen in our previous class. He mentioned it very clearly that if this draft of the constitution is put in the hands of a law student, a constitutional law student, he asks two important questions, children. One question is relating to the what is the form of the constitution? What is the form of the constitution? The second thing is, what is the form of the government envisaged in the constitution? These are the two important questions any law student, a constitutional law student, may ask. So Ambedkar tried to answer these two questions in his entire speech. What is the form of the constitution? There are only two forms of the constitution. One is unitary form, the second one is federal form. These are the two forms of the constitution that in history till today the earth knows. One is unitary, the other one is federal. So what form of the constitution is the Indian constitution is the question. So Ambedkar told very clearly what constitutions are considered as unitary and what constitutions are called as federal. If there is a supremacy of a central polity, then it is called as unitary. If there is a presence of dual polity, then it is called as a federal. It's called as a federal. Then Indian constitution, whether it is unitary or federal, we were trying to understand in our class. What features make us unitary? What features makes us federal constitution? Under that, we have seen that India doesn't have dual citizenship. It doesn't have dual citizenship. Dual means two. We don't have two citizenships. If we belong to Telangana citizenship and India citizenship will not be different. Anywhere in the country you live, it is called as a single citizenship. India has single citizenship, but the constitution tells that India is a union of states. Union of states mean there is a dual polity, but central government has supreme power over the state. It's a union, but it has the features of the federal. That means single citizenship is a feature of the unitary, but dual polities are there, which is a feature of the federal. Dual polities will be present in a federal government. Single polity will be present in a unitary. India has central government and state government. That means dual polity is there. But dual citizenship is not there. Dual means what I said? Two. Dual citizenship we don't have, but dual governments we have. And each government will function independently. They have the power on their subjects. On various subjects as mentioned under the state list and under the central list and even under the concurrent list. The powers what they can enjoy is clearly mentioned under the list. Now the second question that law student asks is, what is the form of the government envisaged in the constitution? There are two forms of constitution. One is presidential government. The other one is parliamentary government. One is presidential, the other one is parliamentary. In order to understand the difference between presidential type of government and parliamentary type of government, we try to understand in comparison with the American president. India has a president and America also has a president. Even though India has a president, but here president he abides by the advices given by the cabinet, whereas in America the president can make his own decisions and he is not responsible to he is not accountable to the Congress. That is nothing but the parliament. Whereas here president is only for the namesake, he is only a ceremonial head, he is just like a rubber stamp. Entire government runs in the name of the president. President is the head of the government, but entire power lies in the hands of the prime minister here. So here the parliament runs the entire show, whereas in America president runs the show. That's the basic difference, and we have come to an understanding that India has a parliamentary form of government. So parliamentary form of government is present, and partially unitary and partially federal constitutional form is also present. We were further trying to understand and elaborate under the unitary and federal features of the constitution. So under that we try to understand that there are three important things which have been adopted in the draft constitution. One is single judiciary. Generally in a federal setup like America, you find a federal court different and state court different, and two different laws. For marriages, two different laws. For inheritance of property, different laws. For the weights and measures, different laws. For divorce, different laws. For crime, different laws. So with this, it becomes intolerant for the people to understand what is right in this state may not be right in another state. What is wrong here may be correct in another state. So there is a chance of escapism by the criminals if there are different laws. But whereas in India we have single judiciary. Even though we have High Court and Supreme Court and district courts, but all these courts are integrated judiciary. Integrated means all of them work together. The law is same. That is the most important feature of a unitary setup of India. The second thing is uniformity in the fundamental laws, that is criminal laws as well as the civil laws, and all India services to man important posts like IAS and IPS. The district collector will be recruited by the central government, but he will work under the state government. See, he will be recruited by the central government but works under the state government. This is how the uniformity was tried to be achieved under a federal setup. It is unitary in nature but federal in spirit. What I would like to tell you is, in short, do not get confused whether Indian constitution is unitary or federal. It is unitary by constitution but federal in setup. Most of the features which a federal setup will have are present here. And you need to understand another thing, that the dual judiciary means a duality of the legal codes. You know coding. section 202, section 203, section 204 of A. This is called as coding. Duality means double. Coding will be doubled. For state it will be different and for the central it will be different. So, as Ambedkar said, are the logical consequences of a dual polity. If there is a dual polity, there will be a dual judiciary generally. In the USA, a federal judiciary and the state judiciary are separate and are independent of each other. What a state judiciary finds it as a mistake, a federal court may consider it as correct. What a federal court considers it as a mistake, a state court may consider it as correct. So, this kind of dispute arises between the courts if there are dual polities. The Indian Federation, though there is a dual polity, has no dual judiciary at all. The High Courts and Supreme Courts form one single judiciary. It is an integrated judiciary. They provide remedies in all cases arising under the constitutional law, civil law and the criminal law. All are same to all the courts in the country. This is done to eliminate the diversity in all remedial procedures. In order to provide the justice, you need to eliminate these all kind of things. Canada is the only country which furnishes a close parallel, and the Australian system is only an approximation. But in some federal countries, the Supreme Court cannot overrule the state High Court laws relating to the state. However, in India, the Supreme Court can hear appeals against to the decision of any court in the country, and it can give judgment also which can overrule the state High Court judgment even. Such power lies with the Supreme Court. And care is also taken to eliminate all diversities from laws which are at the basic of civil and corporate life. The great courts of civil and criminal laws, such as the Civil Procedure Code CRPC or IPC, Indian Penal Code, the Criminal Procedure Code and the Evidence Act, the Transfer of Property Act, laws of marriage, laws of divorce, the inheritance, the laws of inheritance of property from father, how it passes to the child, to the children, are either placed in the concurrent list, that is in the central list, so that the necessary uniformity can be always be preserved without impairing the federal system. Without removing the federal system, these all can work together. As I told you earlier that there are three important lists mentioned in the constitution. One is the state list, second one is the central list, third one is the concurrent list. The power over the state list lies with the state government. The power to make the laws over the subjects present in the central list lies with the central government. The power to make the laws on the subjects which are present in the concurrent list lies with the state as well as with the central. For example, education is in the concurrent list. There is a state government education is there, as well as central government education also is there. So, education comes under the concurrent list. Law and order is there, it comes under the state list. Whereas defense is there, that comes under the central list. So, there are different lists through which they prepare the laws and they get adopted in the legislative assemblies and the parliaments respectively. Both the central and state government can make laws on the concurrent list. However, in case if the state make a law contradictory, then only the central government or the central law will be valid. If there is a contradictory law which has been made by the central state against to the central decision, then central government decision will be considered as valid and state government decision becomes invalid. So, that is the most important functionality. The dual polity which is inherent in a federal system, as said, is followed in all federations by the state, by the dual services. In all federations there is a common civil services as well as state civil service. The Indian Federation through a dual polity also will have a dual service with no exception. For all India services, there is a UPSC, Union Public Service Commission. For a state level service, there is a TSPSC, Telangana State Public Service Commission. It is recognized that in every country, there are certain posts in administrative setup which might be called strategic from point of maintaining a standard of administration and development. So it may not be easy to fill up such a post in a large and complicated machinery of administration. But there can be no doubt that the standard of administration depends upon the caliber of the civil servants who are appointed for these strategic posts. Fortunately for us, we have inherited from the past system of Britishers. Okay, Britishers used to have the British civil services. The same kind of system we also started following. So today we'll end up here. In the next class we shall understand about the criticizing of the Constituent Assembly. Thank you, children.